Welcome to the Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. For over 10 years, giving you the best author reviews, features, and more with a surprise or two. All for you, the author. Now kick off your shoes and enjoy the show with your host, me, author H.D. Campbell.
You know, even after 20 years, readers are still captivated with How to Lose a Black Woman. Now, in its second printing, follow the story of Bruce Williams. Shall I say, mild-mannered school teacher in search of love? Using social media, prayer, and a lot of trial and error, Bruce fights to learn what a true relationship is all about. Filled with original poetry by H.D. Campbell, it's a lesson from one young man's point of view. Buy How to Lose a Black Woman on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, in your favorite bookstore, and even on his website at www.hdcampbell3.com. And as always, let your writing fuel your spirit. Buy Late Murder at 10 by H.D. Campbell. Former investigative reporter Mark Alexander thought his life hit a slump when a mass shooting results in the murder of a controversial news anchor. Can Mark get out of his head long enough to crack this case? Well, I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to get your own copy of Late Murder at 10 on Amazon.com and coming soon to your favorite bookstore.
Since then, I mean.
Okay, I have published, if I'm keeping track of my own count, I think it's about 14 books total. So I published 5 books with Urban Christian, and they're a division of Kensington. And then I published 1 book with Brown Girls Books, and the rest I self-published. And my newest that I did was actually a joint venture with Michelle Stimson. So I did 2 books with her, Small Town Love and Small Town Faith. And so I'm waiting actually on author copies of Small Town Faith, but I do have my author copies of Small Town Love that I wrote with Michelle Stimson. So that's kind of what I've been up to since I hit the publishing world. Just, I keep writing and keep trying to get my work out there. So that's kind of what I've been up to. Besides, actually, I would say for a year or so, I kind of stepped back for a little bit because I fell in love. I got remarried. So that was wonderful. And I'm still like on that great path now too. So, but moving back into my writing world, full speed ahead.
I can see your glow. Love is a beautiful thing, so I truly understand. But since I've been married again since I talked to you, so everything is just so wonderful. So that's all good, no problem. I want to go way back for a second before we
All right.
forward. So 14 books, everything, you just working nonstop. Every author has a beginning. What got you into writing?
I would say it's almost 20 years ago or so. I always enjoyed reading. So I used to read all the time. I was that person that went to the library with a stack of books this high and then come back the next day to get more in return. So I was like that kind of a reader. And so I started singing, writing a lot of songs. And then at around 28, that's when I started to pen my first novel. And at that time, my kids were really young and I was home a lot. My husband used to be out with his friends till all hours of the night doing whatever they were doing. And so, it was just a way for me to write my pain and escape. And it was wonderful. I didn't even know that I could do it. and I didn't even know that it would have gotten to the way, to the path that it did. So that was all the way back then, but I actually didn't get published until um, around 2012 or so, when I met Joylyn Ross. She writes as author Ian Joy, and she was the acquisition editor for Urban Books. And I went to my first ever faith and fiction retreat that Tiffany Warren was hosting. And I went there as a fan, because Victoria Christopher Murray was there, Rhonda McKnight, and Rashonda Tate Billingsley, and I was a huge Victoria Christopher Murray fan, still am. And yeah, still am. And so to get a chance to meet her, and they were doing workshops for authors, and I pitched, and I was the only one that got signed as a result of that faith and fiction retreat. So I assigned to Urban Books with Joylyn Ross, and that's how I get started writing Christian fiction. My edgy stories, somebody actually wanted to read them, and I was really happy and grateful for that.
Well, now, since you told me your story, I refuse to ask who your writing influences are. I just refuse.
Well, I must tell you, one name that I didn't mention is Sandra Brown. She writes romances, but she moved into like that suspense piece. She is like one of my all-time favorites, Sandra Brown. Lots of others that I read as well, but under our, for Black authors, Kimberly Lawson Roby and Victoria Christopher were my two huge ones. And then, of course, Tiffany Warren, Rhonda McKnight, Michelle Stims. I mean, so many wonderful authors. Jacqueline Thomas, Vanessa Miller. And that's kind of how I didn't even know about a lot of those books until I went to the Faith and Fiction Retreat. So it was wonderful. And so, of course, I had to get my author copies, signed copies. So I recently moved, so they're in the garage. I have to sort everything out eventually. But so that's kind of, you start from being a reader, and I'm still a reader. I actually read and review for NetGalley, which I'm thinking I may kind of put a pause on that now. But I love reading the advanced reader copies, the ARCs, and just seeing what's coming. And another author, Jodi Picoult, she's so good as well. So, the more authors that you read is the better you get at your craft. And that's just the facts. That's just the matter of it, is that when you read them and you see how you learn descriptions, you learn so many things by reading. If you know that you're looking for that, it it helps. Yeah.
Well, now, I want to add one more name to that list. 14 books in, Michele Lindo Rice. I know you have a lot of fans. How are your fans treat you? Because I know you got to be on that list of your favorite authors now. How does it feel?
I guess I need to put myself on that list. That's a good one. I must do that next time. I actually have just been blessed with the most amazing readers. I think it's just a fallacy that's out there about Black people and reading. And Black women especially are one of the highest readers ever. And the thing about Black, and I'm speaking because I'm a Black woman myself. The thing about Black women is that we read across genres, across races, and that's pretty uncommon, because there's a lot of other races and other ethnicities, I believe, tend to read within their ethnicity and within their races, etc. But as Black women, we find an author that we love, and if she is or he is a boss with the pen, we are reading that story. And we're going to go back and read the backlist and all of that. And so I have been blessed with some amazing fans. I mean, like, names that everybody know now, like Leslie Hudson, Shannon Harper, Queenie Clem, Eloise Bell. I mean, so many of them, and I hope I don't get in trouble by not mentioning some, but so Shannon Harper, if I didn't mention her name, so many wonderful, supportive readers that you put something out, and even if you use them as advanced readers, they're like, I'm still purchasing a copy to support you. So I have the most amazing fans ever that read my work, that encourage me, that actually helped me to keep going. You know, there's Tiffany Tyler, there's King Brooks, very supportive. Arcea, also very, very supportive, and Lashira. I mean, I can go on and on as the list comes on, you know, but Cassandra Haywood, you know, and they are, you kind of get to know them like on Facebook, even if you've never met them in person. You know, I've met some of them in person, but even if you haven't, you get to know them so well because they're so encouraging. And when you feel like giving up, they're like, keep going, I'm reading your work, you know, and so you're guaranteed that little cluster of readers. And so, yeah, they have been encouraging, they have inspired, and they keep you going. I mean, I can't say enough about the readers. It's, you know, it's wonderful to write your work and you're not sure how it will be received, but when you get people that get you, and worse, not worse really, but what's fascinating is that they recognize your handwriting. You know what I mean? They recognize your voice and they're like, I can tell this is you. So that's even wonderful too. While he's coming, I'll just tell you that I have published Sing a New Song. Um, and then right after that, I released My Soul Then Sings, and then A Reason to Sing. So those are one series. Another series that I've done is Walk a Straight Line, My Steps Are Ordered, The Fall of the Prodigal. And so those are a couple of the series that I've done. And so I've done Small Town Love and Small Town Faith. And so those are just some of the series that I've done as well. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I was just listing names like Victoria Christopher Murray, Kimberly Lawson Roby, Sandra Brown, those authors, and also the fans. I was listing Leslie Hudson, Shannon Harper, Orcea, Tiffany, all these people that read and review for us.
Right.
That kind of trigger you, memory.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, kid. Actually, yeah. So with 14 books in, you're in some great company. So now, that's possible. You're in so much great company because see, these are people that you've met. You're now one of them and everything. So now, let's go into your titles. Tell me all 14 of your titles.
Okay, so I started to mention that I write. I didn't know I would, but I ended up writing some series. So my first series the first complete series was Sing a New Song, My Soul Then Sings, and then I self-published A Reason to Sing. So that's one particular series, and then I published an Able to Love series, and in that series, each of the main character had a disability, which was really close and dear to my heart because, you know, I'm in special education, and so I just love to showcase the talents of our learners. And so I had the Able to Love series, and you had Colorblind, Silent Praise, and Unbound Hearts, and that those three actually could be read in any order because each book had a different character. It was just a series based off a theme. And then I had a series that featured Keith and Gina, and that at that time was pretty huge among my readers, that love affair that lasted over 3 books. And so we had Walk a Straight Line, My Steps Are Ordered, and The Fall of the Prodigal. And then I wrote a couple one-offs. Well, Tell Me Lies. I wrote Tell Me Lies for Brown Girl Books, and there's a sequel to it, Lie to Me. And there's a third one that I have planned that I actually even have the cover for, the title for, and the premise. I just need to write that book, and I haven't done that yet. And I still have people asking me about that to this day. And then I wrote a couple one-offs, A Piece of the Pie, which I do plan to do as a series someday when I get to it. So I have A Piece of the Pie, and I have The Resolution, which was such a fun book that was based off the headlines. And then I wrote let's see if what else I'm missing. I wrote as well Small Town Love and Small Town Faith, and I was a part of an anthology that Tia McCullough's was hosting or leading, putting out an anthology, and so my little story is also in there. So those are um, hopefully I've listed them all in the top of my head, but those are all of my books at in a snapshot according to series that I've put out. Yeah, I think I listed them all. Yep.
Awesome. So, what influences your stories and characters? What gives you your idea?
Um, like for instance, colorblind. That idea came out because of I was having a conversation with my sister, and I lived in a very small town, Port Charlotte at the time, before I moved, and there were a lot of interracial couples, but as many interracial couples that we had in that town, is the racism was just as prevalent. So go figure. And so it was based off a conversation I was having with her of one of her best friends, and a relationship that she had, an encounter that she had with her best friend's father. One of her best friends at that time happened to be white of another race, and so it was just pretty much how they felt about blacks and didn't welcome them in their home, all of this stuff. So when she told me, I was just like, really? The question was, well, what if he couldn't see and you were the only person there to help him? What would he do then? And it just inspired me to write Colorblind. And that's actually one of my highest selling books ever, is Colorblind, that story. It was, I believe, if I remember right, it's one of the first interracial Christian reads, African American interracial Christian reads, and it sold really, really well until Amazon killed us with that Kindle Unlimited program, which as a reader we would love, but as a writer publishing, we know what that did to us. So so that kind of inspired that. Sometimes too it's conversations, sometimes it's just a movie I may watch, a picture. The resolution was inspired by a picture, and just different things that inspire me. And sometimes it's just those natural conversations of deciding, hey, I'd like to write about this, and then building the characters from there. And once you build a character, then it's all about telling their story and what would they do. That's kind of how I do it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm all about character. I love characters. How do your characters? How can I put this? How does your characters carry your story? How do they? Are they more dominant in your story over plot, or where are they as far as your story goes?
Well, when you take classes on writing, and I've learned from like Joy Lynn Ross, Rhonda McKnight, Victoria Christopher Murray, and even a lot of books that you'll read, some of the most powerful tales are told based on the characters. So it's building that personality and having people connect with that character, and then, moving throughout the story. And yes, you may have certain plot points, but then when you get to know your character, it really is all about, would this character really do that? How would they behave? How would they interact with someone else? And it's really crafting those personalities so that people can really see them off the page and relate to them off the page. May not agree with everything that they do, but it's always about why. Why did they do this? And I understand the why, even if I don't agree. And so that's how it's about your characters going through the story. Now, of course, when it comes to writing, it's all about, at first, getting the story out that you want to tell. The true work comes through rewriting and working with amazing editors, because yes, you can reread your work and do a little bit of thing for a while, but you need that other person, that's a professional or an experienced author that knows what they're looking for to further help guide the work. So the rewrite and the editing process is where the the true work comes out in your in your work. And so you want to build these unforgettable but relatable characters that will have people thinking about them when they come off of the page. Like, for instance, when I was writing Sing a New Song, it was a story about Tiffany, and it was a story about her, you know, her going through finding her daughter's father. And I gave her daughter a voice, Carly, in the story, a point of view. Never did I imagine that Carly would resonate so much with the readers, because I really don't write young adult or teens, but I must have did a decent enough job that so many people were like, oh my God, I'm thinking about Carly. How is she doing now that her mom has passed? What are we going to do? And so that sprung off into My Soul Then Sings, where Carly's now in her 20s, and, you know, this is what her life looks like. And so, you know, when you shape the characters and you actually shape them well, not that the plot points aren't great and the twists that you put in there, but when you shape the characters well, that's what makes a story unputdownable, unforgettable, etc. And so that's what I aim to do. But I'll tell you that you really get better at that when you have objective point of view looking at your work. You know, not, you know, your uncle or your auntie that's going to say it's a great job.
You know, you know, in the beginning, when I was learning, I read in the magazine, you know, I teach this, and you know, 'cause I edit other people. And I tell people all the time, and make them feel just like, yes, I said something you just did. It's like, you need a professional editor. You don't need your grandmother or your uncle or your older auntie who's going to say, they're going to say everything you write is good. They're
Yeah.
not going to actually edit it. They're going to say, oh, you wrote good, baby. You know, so, no, you need an actual objective editor. And yes, we are good at our own thing, but you need somebody else to look at your own work.
Mm-hmm.
So I truly understand. And the editor, I have people look at my work.
Mm-hmm.
So, because see, my work, I can always say my work is great, but yet somebody else.
Yeah. And it's just it's really is that process. And so many people see these books come out and they look, and you're like, you read it in hours, but it didn't take hours to write. It took days and months and even years to get it to where it was, that you then could sit and read that in 3 hours, and like I couldn't put it down until I was finished. And so it's all about learning the craft and continually improving, and learning to take advice and that honest critique, because that's invaluable when you get that from others. And also, it's not that easy to take. You know, you have to be prepared and develop that thick skin, so to speak, if you really want an honest appraisal of your work and guidance on how it should go.
Awesome, awesome. At what point, because I ask Author this all the time, at what point did you say, I get it, I get it, in other words, everyone finds a maturity in writing, but you had it from the beginning. When did you realize that you had a very maturity in your writing?
I don't even know if I'm there yet. I think I'm getting better.
Okay, I'm going to cut you off right there, seriously. If you don't know that you're there yet, that means you already have a maturity, because there's maturity and there's ego. And if you don't even know if you're there yet, and I can actually see it, and your readers can actually see it, that means you're there.
I would say too that developing certain habits as a writer also helps, which is, you know, I can't tell you them, and I'm sure you've experienced it as well. A lot of people that want to write and they're like, I don't read, and I'm like, you're missing out. You have to do a lot of reading if you want to write. It is fuel. It keeps you going. It gives you that oomph that you need, actually. And so you have to know what is out there and what's being published, and you have to be able to read it and see what the trends are as well. But reading is crucial. And then working on the craft. You know, if you get your work professionally edited, The editor is expecting that at the next book, whatever you take, whatever advice they've given you, that you're going to take that and apply it into your next work. And so that's why it really is working. It's all about writing, getting that book out on the page, yes, but then in your own self edits, it's, you know, those questions. Did I do this? Did I do that? Did I make sure to show this? Did I make sure to show that? Because we all have our weaknesses, and then in the edits, in our self editing, is where we can tackle some of those and overcome those. And then, of course, when you give to an editor, it's going to go through another set of rounds of edits and changes. But the best that you can put out there is definitely that self-editing piece of looking at, did I say where they are? Did I say what's going on around them? Did I point this all out? You know, so it's knowing your weaknesses. Is there a word or a gesture that I'm overusing in this book that you know? So I think, and I hope I get the quote right, but there's a quote out there that, you know, when you're writing, that's for you, but when you're editing, it's for the reader. And that's the truth.
I'm getting a lot more than I bargained for here. Because I'm loving the interview, but this is you giving like straight knowledge.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Oh, and I actually owe you an apology. I actually called you. I didn't know. I forgot you were married. You left it to Jack. It's not Lindo Rice anymore. I do apologize about that.
No, that's fine, because I still use Michele Lindo Rice as my author name. It's a brand, it's established, so that's completely fine. Yeah, what happens actually is that, you know, I work, and so my name, Michelle Jackson, comes up, and I have had several people say, is that you? I'm like, yes, it's me. That's my married name. But I still use Michele Lindo Rice, and I'm actually working on our little pen name, so we'll see what happens there. So,
awesome.
but yeah, no worries there. Yeah. I still will use Michele Lindo Rice because it's been established, and actually my husband is just like, keep it. He's like, it's a great name, so I'm keeping it.
Cool. So my next question for you is, what is your latest book?
So my latest book, I actually am waiting on author copies. My latest book that's published is Small Town Faith, and I just finished that with Michelle Stimson. And it was book 2 in the Love Town series. So book one and book 2 told the stories of twins. So the first story was on Jania's story and her twin sister, Jasmine or Jazzy. That's her in book 2. That was her love story. And so we add a little bit of suspense and a little bit of edginess to it. I always try to, you know, reach the edge of the line, and working with someone like Michelle Stimson, you know, you keep on that, and then bring you back over the line, but then making sure that the editor that we have that work on it also helped a lot in making sure that, you know, we kept the story as it should be, and told the story that we wanted to tell. So that's my latest that's out with Michelle Stimson. It came out June 30th. Yeah, so a couple months ago. And besides that, actually, I'm writing. I've written a romance, and the title isn't like accepted or anything yet. So and I've written a couple other books. I stab at women's fiction, and no matter how much I've fixed those and paid and edited and worked on it, I still have work to do on those. So people will probably see those at some point. I may just say this is it and just self-publish it myself and call it a day. Because after a while, there's just much ingredients you can put in a cake. You eventually have to bake it and just eat it as is, you know?
Yes. All right. So I know we're in the middle of COVID, but I wanted to ask if you have any virtual events coming up, anything with your books coming up with virtual tours or blog tours?
Well, I did attend Romance Slam Jam, and that was absolutely wonderful. And yeah, I was actually going to be going back out there again. And then we had COVID, because I was kind of like, you know, at home for a while. I'll be at the Christian Book Lovers Retreat, October 22nd, I think, to 25th. And something else I think is coming up. I know I plan to go to bar book Black Authors Readers Rock with Sharon Lucas next year. So hopefully that in itself will also take place. So pretty much that's what I have so far coming up as far as virtual events is the Christian Book Lovers Retreat. Um, Nothing else right now in the horizon. Most of it is either events have been canceled or postponed until next year. So just praying and hoping that things change so that we can head off and see each other in person next year.
Awesome. How can we get to know you? How can we buy your book? How can we learn more about you on a personal basis or a book basis?
Well, readers have always connected with me through Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Michele Lindo Rice. My website, michelelindorice.com. I had to take Messenger off my phone. It was absolutely ridiculous because people are not using Messenger. People are using Messengers like spam. So, but I do when I go on my desktop or laptop, I will check messages that way. But I had to take it off my phone. My phone was dinging around the clock with spam from Messenger. It's ridiculous. So, but you can definitely reach me there on Twitter. I'm at Lindo Rice on Twitter. Pretty much I'm if you Google me, you're gonna find me pretty easy. I think I'm pretty easy to find. And so I love hearing from readers, and people will email me as well through my website, and I do respond. And so just that's how they can get a hold of me.
Cool. So now my next question to you is I know you're working on a bunch of stuff, but is there anything you can dish about at the moment?
Okay, let's see. I will say this, that at the Romance Slam Jam, out of something horrible, there are some little roots of goodness coming out. With George Floyd, his horrible death, it impacted the publishing world with a couple things. One was that publishing paid me Twitter that was huge, that showed the disparity between African Americans, Blacks, minorities, and our white counterparts, what they were making in publishing. And so after all of these events, a combination, there are so many publishing houses that are now opening their doors, trying to find Black authors. And so I've started writing or pitching out to see if I can get an agent and see if I can get my work out there. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm actually writing a romance, but they're not Christian fiction. They're just romances. I'd say probably a little hot, a little steamy. So I'll probably use a pen name for those, because Michele Lindo Rice is really attached to Christian fiction. And so that's kind of what I'm doing right now, and trying to, take advantage of that opportunity. So a lot of us are doing that. So that's kind of where I'm at now, honestly. That's where I'm at.
Oh, no
Not that I told you anything, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Hey, if that's where you at, is where you at. There's no problem. The fans want to know. See, you mentioned Victoria Chris Murray and Joy. You mentioned all these people, but you don't realize you have fans yourself. So people gotta know what you're up to as well. See, because you have to realize when I interview people, your name ends up with other authors as well. So
Really? Wow.
yes, they do.
I am shocked to hear that. Wow.
14 books is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, you can't write 14 books and no one's heard of you. But come on. So yes, people have mentioned you, and so yes, so you told us a lot, meaning you have stuff going on. So next time we come back to the show, it'll be a lot sooner than later.
Yes, for sure. Because I have a couple of things, like I said, in the works, and if this happens, I definitely would be able then to come and talk a little bit more about it. What I'm up to. I'm doing some little things, and I'm trying to venture out there, and we'll see what happens. I mean, some amazing things are happening with some authors now, and for not all of us, it's not our gonna be our path necessarily, but it's wonderful to see Victoria Christopher Murray, her books are going to film, and then Beverly Jenkins, we just saw that announcement, her books are going to film, and so it's some great time for our authors out there, and so if we can, the door has often been closed, and if as many of us that can get in the door, I feel should get in that door and see what opportunities are there for us, because a lot of us would love to be able to write full time if if that opportunity presented itself. So
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. So now this portion of the show, I give you final words where you can give shout outs, author advice, whatever you want to say before we go.
okay, so first of all, I want to thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate that and all that you do for authors. It's very hard to get yourself out there, and so we rely on these kind of mediums and our word of mouth from our readers. So I definitely want to thank my readers who have encouraged me. I have an aunt in Jamaica who has read all of my books that I have to mail her a copy, and she has a group of people that reads it and they love it. And so there's nothing like that. So I definitely want to just end off by saying, I know how things may look with COVID and with a lot of things that's going on in the world, but the one thing that we have that no one can take away is our faith. And so just continue to trust in God, trust in Him. He has you. He has your path, and your path is no one else's path. And I'll say that too. That statement goes across everything, across your personal life, across your professional life, and if you're an author, across your author life as well. We can look up to others, but we can't compare ourselves to them because their walk is not our walk. And as the best thing that we can do is continually improve and to make sure to forgive each other. That's me going off on a tangent, but forgive each other. It doesn't hurt. It only grows you as a person, and it spreads love. And that's kind of what I'm going to say.
Do you need editing and formatting services for your manuscript or document? Go to HD Campbell Productions, who will offer professional services and reasonable prices. For more information, call HD Campbell at 314-265-9169, or you can send him an email at hdcampbell3@msn.com. Let HD Campbell be your editor. As always, let your writing fuel your spirit.
You worked hard on that book, and now you need a good cover. You can always contact my friend Inoshi. She promises great book covers and professional service guarantees on all of them. She's even done 3 of my titles and is the exclusive cover artist for Hard Drive Publishing and HD Campbell Productions. You can contact Inoshi at her email at authorsinoshi@gmail.com.
Well, I'm an actor. I'm a director. I have produced for the stage. I'm an improviser. I sing, and I write. So I do a little bit of everything.
Awesome. Let's go with the biggest thing. Let's go with the acting. What
Okay.
you want to start acting?
When did I start acting? When I was a kid, really. My freshman year of high school, I auditioned for the spring musical, and I was hooked after that. So I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but for a long time.
I truly understand. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Um, so my next question is, so my next question for you is, where did you feel the gap between I love doing this and I want to do this professionally?
I guess probably I mean, probably after college, because when I went to college, I originally thought that I was going to get a degree in theater, but I was 18 and everybody said that you need to go into something that's more, that you'd be more likely to get a job in. So I tried going into advertising and whatnot, and then just never was happy, never really liked it. So I was like, I'm gonna go back to just doing what I want to do and not worrying about how much money I make. Like, I'll figure the money part out. So yeah, so probably about the last 10 years or so, I've been focusing a lot more on just what I actually enjoy.
Awesome, awesome. So tell me some things that you've done. I mean, only asking once.
Acting wise, so I've done, back in the day, I did a lot of community theater. I was in a play called Betty's Summer Vacation that was really dark and macabre and was a lot of fun. I was also in a lot of, British farces and different things that most community theaters do. And I used to perform at a theater called Comedy Shrine in Aurora, where I did improv. I also did a play there called Exit Interview, which was the first play that they ever did at the theater, because it's normally a stand-up and improv theater. But then, for various reasons, I left there and just decided to start doing my own thing. So a friend and I kind of started this production company and started writing and producing our own stuff.
Awesome, awesome. Actually, now that's my next question. What, now that you've been acting and everything, what got you into wanting to write and produce and work behind the scenes?
So writing is something that came to me a lot later. Again, the Comedy Shrine, they had a writers group that they had a couple writing classes that I didn't join because I was like, I'm not a writer. But some people convinced me to try to join this one writers class with Howard Johnson, and so I did. And I brought an idea that I was like, I had this idea. I think it's a sketch. I don't know. And I showed it to him and he had to explain to me. He's like, well, it's not a sketch. This is a scene from something larger, which I didn't have any idea what the difference between a sketch and a scene was. So that's something that I learned. But it became a play called Oh My Gods that I wanted to put on stage. And I was like, I guess I'll figure out how to produce and direct a play at the same time as figuring out how to write a play. So that's what I did, and that was 4 years ago, and that was the first thing that the production company that I'm part of, Memoriam Development, actually produced. So,
Before I get to my next question, I would really love to see some of what you've done. I mean, I love talking to different actors doing different things, and I definitely love to see some of your work. Where can we see some of your work?
well, right now we are part of a virtual festival. Elgin Fringe Festival is happening right now in Elgin, Illinois. Normally it's a live event because of everything that's going on. They've moved it to a virtual event. So actually now through October 4th, you can check out the show that I'm in called In Memoriam at the virtual Elgin Fringe Festival, amongst a lot of other cool performances by all of the other festival performers. So
Awesome, awesome. Now, everyone has different influences. Who are some of your influences?
as far as writing, directing, acting,
Yes.
I
So,
don't know. That's one of those questions like, what's your favorite song? I have no idea. I mean, I love a lot of the creative stuff. As far as, I guess, comedy writing, Parks and Recreation is one of my favorite shows. I absolutely love the comedy writing in that show. Like, I love how well developed the characters are, how they're all like weird and a little off-putting, but like still so well done. And the jokes that carry through the seasons, like Gary, Jerry, you don't even realize what his name is until like season 3, that's not even his name.
right.
So yeah, but definitely, so that's one of my favorites for sure. And a
So,
lot of, since the topic like is horror, I guess some of the new horror that's been coming out is pretty cool. Like movies like Midsummer.
yes.
very different, but I really enjoyed them. So
Let's see, with a lot of the, let's see, do you see yourself here in the next few years getting into a lot of that on the mainstream level?
I would like to start getting into it on the mainstream level. Right now, what we've been focusing on is creating original Memoriam Development, the company that I'm part of, creating original content for the suburbs, Chicago suburbs. But as COVID has happened, we're definitely moving more towards filming. So as I get a little bit more adept at that, because that's something that I don't have much experience with, I'm hoping that maybe we can start reaching a wider audience and start, yeah, being a little bit more mainstream.
You know, as a fellow writer, I tend to have a problem with, I guess, Hollywood in general because it seems like no one has original ideas. We're remaking everything, and I see people like you, and you know, we all have different ideas in the mouth. How does that feel? That there's so much imagination out there, and no one's using it.
I mean, I feel like it's unfortunate that so many great original ideas aren't getting out there simply because they're not as ubiquitous or mainstream or whatever. I think a lot of the big, studios are focusing on like, well, this is what we know works, so this is what we're going to do. But I think the advent of all of the streaming services like Netflix, like YouTube Red, Amazon, all of that are allowing a market for a lot of these new original ideas that are different. And I think audiences are really responding to that. So hopefully that'll carry over to the larger studios.
Awesome, awesome. So, with a lot of what you're doing, are you trying to get a piece of that or get into that, the streaming market?
I mean, that is something that, yeah, I mean, don't we all want to be like rich and famous and part of these huge studios? But I don't know. I guess just being able to make a living at it is the goal right now. Figuring out how to do film is the goal right now because we've done 2 festivals now, and our next upcoming show, Nightshade, which is normally a stage play, is going to be 10 shorts. We're going to do it episodically instead of a play. So
Also,
just trying to figure out how it's all going to work now.
now where can we see that?
So Nightshade, the plan for that is our first episode is going to be released on Halloween, October 31st. It'll be up on YouTube, and we're going to release, the plan is right now for once a month. So the last Saturday of every month. So we've got 9 of them so far that we have planned to be released. So which is October through, I believe, May, with maybe a bonus episode here or there. And it's memoriamdevelopment.com is our website. I know that if you go to memoriamdevelopment.com that there's a link to the YouTube channel and the Facebook page and the Instagram. So
Awesome, awesome. So what's in the future? Where do you see yourself coming in the next year or so?
in the next year or so, well, hopefully with this next project, Nightshade, since we're moving it to cinema, YouTube, as opposed to the stage, we're hoping to, like I said, get more of that done. We're trying to bring in more directors, other writers, and other performers that we haven't worked with before. So I'm hoping to just cast our net a lot more widely. I think that instead of doing one production that people have to be available for 2 months for rehearsals and whatnot, if we're doing episodes that, hey, we need you, but only for like 3 days this 1 month, that we can get a lot more people involved that may not otherwise have be able to commit to something that's only happening once. So
Awesome. You touched on it earlier in the interview, but how's COVID really affected you guys?
I mean, it's affected all of us. Like, we had to cancel multiple shows. We had a couple dinner theater shows that we had lined up with local bars and restaurants that we had to cancel. We've had to, figure out how to do virtual festivals as opposed to the live performances that we're used to. Yeah, it's affected because a lot of us, because of what we do, we also have a lot of side hustles that have been affected. Because like I Uber drive, but I hadn't been Uber driving for quite a while because everything was shut down in Chicago, and it was, deemed to be like, maybe don't let the strangers in your car that are breathing on you, and who knows what's going on with that. But I don't know, we're just trying to roll with the punches and figure everything out. I know a lot of my performance friends, they've started YouTube channels. They've started doing a lot more video stuff, releasing content online to keep us occupied as much as anything. We want to create, we want to make art. So however we can do that.
I'll just say, yeah, the more hits you have, the better that you are. So it's like I would guess everyone does that, which is pretty cool. So, do you personally have a YouTube channel, or I know your production company have one, but do you personally have?
I'm sorry, I actually didn't catch what you just said.
Do
Yay,
you?
Zoom.
Oh, you're fine. No, you're fine. Do you personally have a YouTube channel?
I do not personally have a YouTube channel. It's something that I've thought about trying to do for myself, or thought about, I don't know, in the past, of weird things that I can do on my own, but it's as of right now, I haven't. No, so it's just through Memoriam Development.
Wow. But see, this is the time, it's the end of summer. So much could have been going on, but you guys are still working it out, and I love that. What keeps driving you guys is saying, I'm not going to give up. This is our craft. Even though things are holding us down, we're still going to fight.
I guess once we got through the initial sort of darkness that was March and April, where everyone was depressed and drunk all the time and didn't know what was going on, we kind of just all started talking to each other. And I was talking to my co-producer, Nick Madaragas. I was like, well, we've been talking for the last 3 years about doing more video content, but we keep getting distracted because we're such a small company and we do everything. We keep getting distracted with all the stage shows. So since we can't do stage shows, this is the time to focus on that. So we've been just trying to find things to do to keep us, like I said, you gotta have to keep things that you can look forward to. Otherwise you get lost in the sea of despair that has been quarantine.
Awesome, awesome. So is there anything else that can help us pass the time away? So you have the show that's premiering in Halloween. Do you have anything else that can kind of distract us from the time until everything goes back to normal?
Do I have anything else? What?
Do you have any other content that can distract us until everything gets back to normal?
Any other content? We do a bunch of podcasts. That is something that we're able to produce somewhat, as long as, people are a little more willing. So there's a podcast that we do called Freak of the Week, and normally we're in season for that. But it's an improvised podcast, so it's very hard to do via Zoom. You kind of have to be in the room with someone. So that one kind of got put on the sidelines a little bit, but we do have half a season. So you can also go to memoriam.com and check out all of our podcasts, because that's something that we've been doing that we can still do. Well, like I said, as far as Memoriam Development, we've got memoriamdevelopment.com, and our website has actually been recently revamped. Thanks to our tech guy. He put a lot of work into it. We are on Memoriam Development on Instagram. We are Memoriam Development on Facebook. And as far as me personally, I'm Have Camera Will Travel. That's my photography website, or you can just, Facebook me at Amanda Davila. I also have an Instagram. It's HCWT Photo. So you can see a lot of the fun stuff that I do on there as well.
Awesome, awesome. So now this is part of the interview where I give you the final word. You give shout out, you give advice, and everyone to say the floor is yours.
Final word to try to give some advice to people. Just do it. Whatever it is, whatever the idea is, it's not too crazy. And even if you're completely broke and no one else, you have no idea what you're doing, you've never tried it before, just do it. I had never directed or produced or written or acted until I did. So go for it, whatever it is.